Marty,
Yep.
am I gonna owe you another whiskey bottle? I don't know. Are we gonna take a bet tonight?
Did
All I
we
know
take
is
a
that
bet?
we took a bet on when the election was gonna be. I lost.
Yeah.
You won. I've got a
Yeah.
bottle of whiskey just under my desk here, waiting for you to come or me to go out there. And we've got maybe some predictions. Let's leave our predictions maybe to the end of this.
To the end, sure.
Yeah, to get everybody. That's the enticing. Stick around to the end. But you said there's a lot to talk about, and you said grab a beer, so I did.
Oh, I don't have a beer. I'll grab a beer for the Q&A. I got a diet ginger ale.
I waited just for this moment to say, all right, let's do this. Yeah. Marty, where do we start? There is so much going on.
Let's start with Klaus Schwab.
Okay, we're gonna go there.
Because I was wondering if so. Let's maybe people don't know. I mean, we're preoccupied with the Canadian election. There is still stuff going on in the rest of the world. I thought a big news this week was the fact that on Sunday, Klaus Schwab, out of the blue, said, "I quit." We kind of knew he was going to resign, but he literally, "I quit effective now." That was a big move.
That was a big move. So World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab retires as chairman was the news that went out on everywhere. Actually, it was AP. And so this was actually a few days ago. So this went out. Not a lot of people heard about it initially, and then a lot of people mentioning it. And it was really the online community that drove this news to the forefront. But of course, with every good story, you hear what happened, and then later you hear why. Wow. And this is the best part. And it was the Wall Street Journal that actually broke this story. I think it was them that broke the story. I saw it on Reuters. There's a few other places that talked about it. But the World Economic Forum opens new probe into founder Klaus Schwab. Founder quit after the board moved to investigate whistleblower allegations, which he denies, including use of luxury property and travel. Would you be surprised, Marty?
God, no, I would not be surprised. Oh my.
No, I got to finish the sentence. I got to get out there. So would you be surprised to hear that someone who's advocating for a one world government and wants to be the head of it and be the central authority over everybody on the planet perhaps embezzled some money and perhaps is corrupt to the core?
It's always the same thing with these guys, right? It's what's the expression? Rules for thee, but not for me.
Exactly.
When they him in particular, when he's talking about the Great Reset, he's brutal, right? I mean, he's on the record as talking about literally, we need to depopulate the world. It's the way to save the world is to depopulate the world. But when he's talking depopulate the world, he's not talking about him and his friends and his family. He's talking about you and
us
me,
plebs. Yeah,
absolutely. You'll own nothing and be happy. I'll own a lot of things and be happier. It's so. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And this is how they always go down.
Corruption.
Corruption. They push it too far. And usually what happens, what do they say, right? No honor among thieves. The guy who's squealing on him is probably equally corrupt, but that's what happens. They get another buddy goes oh, Klaus went on the big yacht and he didn't invite me along. So then they get mad at each other and then they turn on each other is what happens.
What's great though is how do you replace a Bond supervillain? What do you do to get rid of this Bond supervillain guy? How about replace him with another Bond supervillain?
I had to look. I was is this fake? And it's not fake, Clyde. There's multiple pictures. I don't know what's wrong with that guy's eye, but there's
obviously it's not all. So this was a while back. This photo was taken, but everybody's using the photo for exactly the same reason that I just laid out. He's got to be another Bond supervillain, but it's the Nestle chairman, the former Nestle chairman. What's his name? Here's a better picture of him. It's Peter. Yeah, he still looks like a villain.
To be honest, I don't generally trust people with hyphenated last name. I find that a bit.
Did he take his wife's? Did he take his wife's name? Is that what happened? Is that part of the DEI? I mean, he fits the bill, I guess. World
Well,
Economic
that's what
Forum.
they interbreed and they marry cousins, and then last names are important, right? I mean, you're like, it's like royalty. They got to make sure that they keep the names. They value their names and they hyphenate their names. I don't know this guy, but I mean, I
Well,
was
if you're gonna
hoping
do
that,
all the incestuous inbreeding and all that, why don't you go all the way and be like that French prince that couldn't breed afterwards? He was so
but
yeah.
but it's interim, right? So he's interim. So this is where I got my fingers crossed. He's interim. So that new Bond villain, they're still going to search, and I'm kind of hoping that Carney says, screw the election. I'm going back to the World Economic Forum, like where I belong. Like, or maybe we send him there on purpose and punt him to the road. But anyways, I'm rambling. I was hoping that
Where he
I
does
knew
well.
that.
Actually, you know what? That reminded me of something that just came up today, and I'm gonna pop this up because this was a article that's kind of old.
Yeah.
Actually, it's this article from World Finance, and you only just reminded me of this just now. A marked man, Carney's BOE, the Bank of England departure. So this surfaced, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due here because I got this on X. Why does it keep popping me over there? So I got this from X, Leslie, who I'm going to follow back. Bombshell incoming. Mark Carney was forced out of the Bank of England. He resigned in disgrace. His name he has misled Canada about the truth. The British is still trying to recover from his tenure over there. Share this, and it goes into basically a bunch of the what happened at the Bank of England, and we all know, like he likes to take credit for what happened in Canada, with the 2008 crisis. But what he did was he sowed the seeds for this housing bubble that we're all suffering from now. That's what he did in Canada. That's his legacy.
Just now, same thing. Now you're inspiring me. Now the whole week is coming back to me, right? I've been trying to not watch. I've been trying to. I mean, I've watched the election, but I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The election's a little bit boring. So while watching the election, I'm watching other stuff. This stuff is what's fascinating to me, and what frustrates me is that it's being buried, right? Like Carney has an evil record. I mean, his record at the Bank of Canada wasn't that good. His record at the Bank of England sucks. His
terrible.
His book lays out his brutal philosophies in life, like
his love for Marx. Holy
Marx
cow.
and the Great Reset, and then you got I was about to say Karl Marx. You got Klaus Schwab. What I was hoping is that when Klaus Schwab resigned, that finally the World Economic Forum would fizzle out. Because the guy's been there for 40 years, 50 years, kind of like steering it and keeping it alive.
He's like the Max Bernier of the World Economic Forum.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I had to.
Yeah. But
unless they have a leadership review.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so that's typical of these guys, right? There's not going to be a leadership review at the World Economic Forum. The Liberals didn't have a leadership review. They're all playing from the same playbook, right? It's all this gross corruption and a big club, and you and I are not in that club, man.
Nope,
like, not even close, right? No, what I was.
Did I derail you? Sorry.
I'm just making a note because I want to come back to central bankers because of what's going on in the U.S. with their central banker.
Oh, okay. That's some news that probably I haven't heard yet at the Fed. So
yeah. Actually, right. Maybe let's just talk about it.
That's a segue. Let's do it.
It's
go
not
for
a huge
it.
story, but the stock markets in the U.S. took a shit kicking again, right? Remember last week you and I in Austin? I'm like, "Ooh, okay, trade war's over." I mean, stock market's up like 3%.
Yeah.
Then Monday morning, it's like, "Whoa, what just happened?" Stock market is like, tanked. Trump is pissed off at his central banker, whatever his name is, and he wants to fire.
Well, he's doing all this other Andrew Jackson stuff. I don't.
Printing money, not go messing with interest rates, doing all the bad stuff, and Trump wants him gone. So then just the mere mention of saying I want him gone sent the U.S. stock market into a tumble on Monday. Then Trump pulls back, and then boom, market comes back up 5%. Like, man, some people are making money. Again, you and I are not those guys, but the people at the top that are pulling the strings and making all this uncertainty, they're getting rich, man. Holy smokes. Like,
so who's at the chair right now?
Horn? No, not Horn.
Jay Powell.
Powell. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. So Powell. So anyways, it's an interesting story because, you know, here in Canada, everybody's promoting Carney as a central banker, and you and I have talked about this. Central bankers are the worst. Like, they're not saviors. They're not saviors. So I was hoping that some of this would spill out into our election, but Carney's been sheltered from this. Like the mainstream media, what you and I are talking about right now, mainstream media in Canada is not talking about this.
Well, this is good. I think this is a step in the right direction. I mean, I haven't heard this much moves in this direction since, well, Ron Paul. Ron Paul was the one who injuvenated or energized the End the Fed movement in the United States. I think it was Aaron Russo. He made a documentary film teaching people that the Federal Reserve is not an American government institution. It's as federal as FedEx. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a private institution that runs their central bank and has the power of issuing currency. It's a scam. It's a huge scam. And it's unbelievable, like the story that goes behind it. A bunch of bankers whisking away in the middle of the night, getting on train cars and going to an island called Jekyll Island to write the legislation for enacting this thing. Like, we're talking about supervillains. Like, it's crazy. This is the origin story. To hear Donald Trump, so he's a big fan of Andrew Jackson. It's been well known, doing a lot of Andrew Jackson-esque things. And then to see him come out, like Andrew Jackson fought off central banks for his term. That was his huge thing, was to get rid of any inkling of central banks coming into the United States of America. Eventually they came, but I like to see this. This is great.
I like to see it too, but nobody's talking about it, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's like the real underlying cause of so many of our problems, and nobody, in fact, instead of talking about it, we're like, the mainstream media is still promoting it as the solution. I'm like, it's what got us in trouble. Central bankers got us in trouble. Inflation got us in trouble. Money printing got us in trouble. Out of control immigration, DEI, woke ideologies, trying to shift to a rethinking the economy. All of these things failed. And man,
and it's all behind these guys.
Yeah,
these guys are the ones that did it.
Yeah. And so they're fighting hard, man. They're fighting hard to get us to forget what they did and to put them back in.
So you got to explain this one to me, because I love this picture. But where did this guy come from? This the
middle guy,
Brantford Boomer. So this is Twitter right now. If you type in Brantford Boomer, you get all of these pictures. Please keep this.
Actually, the Brantford Boomer is a great account. You just, if you scroll down at the top, you have it at the top. There's a guy who created an account called the Brantford Boomer. This guy.
I love this.
Yeah,
like, his tweets are hilarious. I'm sorry you're so upset. You're just experiencing inflation differently. Elbows up. Everyone's still mad about inflation. Probably hasn't tried eating cereal for dinner. Save Canada. Vote Mark Carney. Elbows
like, that's
up.
Gotta be. I mean, we'll never know who it is, but that's either COVID parent or one of those guys, right? Like, it's one of those
funny.
It's one of those great parody accounts that has quickly rebranded. But
stop blaming Mark Carney because you can't afford a home. It's Trump's fault. Elbows up. This guy's on it. This guy's absolutely on it. But some of the memes are crazy. You've got this F you Canada, boomers for Carney. We don't care about Europe, about affordability, crime, immigration, or corruption. We're voting
Clyde,
liberal.
Real quick, show the viewers.
Elbows up.
Show the viewers my bio picture. I changed my bio picture. Actually, we'll talk about this in a second, but just show.
I'll pull it up.
It's
there you go.
so on the left or on the right is the Brantford Boomer. I don't know who the other lady is, but she was another deranged lunatic, and like, this is a trend, right? Camera like Karina or Karima, sorry, or Pleb, or some of them are going to the Liberal events, and the Liberals in line are losing their shit, like attacking and putting their fingers up and doing all this stuff. And they're turning themselves into memes in the process of doing it.
And the memes just keep flying like heritage minutes. It's so good. So those are the two characters that you're talking about. More people can't afford food. F you.
You have the one of the guy who was holding his nose up, and he's holding his nose up to the cameraman and saying like, "Look up my nose." I'm like, "What are you doing, buddy?" Like,
listen to this. So JJ McCullough tweeted this one out. Brewery where Brantford Boomer used to work, Railway City, officially disavows him. So, like, this is the place where they found out where the guy. I mean, once you're famous on the internet like that, people will find out all kinds of stuff about you.
Yeah, I'm not going to cancel him. I don't want to cancel him. I want to promote him. Like, I want to see. Yeah, these are hilarious. Like, I made my own pack, by the way, right? Did you see mine? I made a little pack. Like, it's.
Did you make a pack? This is great. Kareem Assad made a cardboard cutout of the guy, and she's been carrying him around with her. And he's like showing up everywhere. It's way too funny.
That was interesting. Actually, scroll back down just real quick to the cop there. We don't need one more, or sorry, scroll up. You went
wrong direction. Yeah,
wrong direction.
Right here.
That cop, that was an interesting story too. Like, the cop was not offended by the cardboard cutout. The cop was genuinely offended by the boomer, by the guy holding his fingers out. The cop understood that was a gesture aimed at Canadians, and he found it offensive. I'm like, good. There are good.
Well, cops. It should be offensive because at the end of the day, what's happened here, and this is a bit of like pitting Canadians against each other, like the Liberals love to do, but we have a whole generation of people that they'll never afford anything. Like, this is
my kids. It's the number one topic of discussion. My kids came over for Easter this weekend, and every time they come over, it inevitably surfaces. My boys are stressed out that they've done everything right, and they'll never be able to afford a house.
That's it. And if you're not in a house that you own right now, you'll never have one.
Like, my oldest daughter got into a condo thanks to dad, who had to help. My father didn't need to help me, but I have to help my kids. That's the big change. And then my oldest son, Nick, is turning 25 next month. When I was 25 years old, I already had a house. It was a no-brainer buying a house when I was 25 years old, man. My first house cost $60,000, and I was making $27,000 a year in those days. So a house was twice my salary. You can't get a house for twice your salary nowadays. If you what's a house in Toronto? I don't even want to pick Toronto. I picked the wrong one. A house in Toronto's got to be $1 million. Got to be $1 million. The house in Vancouver's got to be $1 million, right?
A house in this little town, north of Vancouver.
Yeah,
not North Vancouver, north of Vancouver, like 45 minutes away, is $1 million for a townhouse. You can't buy a house on a plot for less than $2 million. It's crazy.
And the bank won't lend you money if your house is worth more than 3 times your salary. Well, nobody qualifies. How do you qualify? Like, that means you like to own $1 million house in Vancouver, you need to make $333,000 a year. Anyway,
it's insane. It's insane. So this is the prospects of Canada. The young generations are looking at it this way, and when young generations see this boomer guy for Carney and he's shooting the bird at all these people, they feel like you're shooting the bird at me. You're shooting the bird at me in your comfy life while you probably own your house. You probably have a lot going for you. You got a pension. Prospects of pensions ever being solvent when I retire, probably never going to happen. And then it's like, and then you have the audacity to vote for the guy who's going to make things worse for me. Like, absolutely. Get out of town.
And the Liberals have divided the country. It's like there's a lot of division in the country after 10 years of Liberal. This is one of the ones that upsets me. We're literally at the point where older Canadians and younger Canadians are divided and fighting. That's insane. Like, that used to be a given that you respected your elders, and it was also a given that your elders wanted better for the next generation. That was a given. My father, that was my dad's dying wish. Like, he's like, I'm just glad you guys did better than I did. That's all my dad wanted in life. He's like, I did okay, and I want you guys to do better. What parent doesn't want that? And when I look at what's happening right now in Canada and this boomer phenomenon, it's the first time ever I've ever witnessed that, where you got a whole generation giving the great big finger to the next generation. That's berserk. That's berserk. And I'm getting mad at this because that same generation 5 years ago was saying, hey, get the jab. You got to save grandma. And so we put kids in this country in, I'm getting really mad right now thinking about it, because we put kids in this country behind masks and homeschooled them. And we stole the youth of an entire generation of kids for years to protect grandma and grandpa. And this is how they thank us. That's insane, man. So anyways, let's bring it back to something fun. Let's bring it back to something
no.
fun.
I'm not gonna help you on that one.
Okay.
Because we're diving here. So this is the Western Standard. They wrote an article saying the federal report warns of a bleak future as Canada faces economic meltdown. So this is the report about the Privy Council. So I'll just read the first bit. The federal think tank is warning that Canada could face a dramatic societal and economic breakdown within 15 years, including mass emigration, which is people leaving the country, leaving for, better places by wage earners, a surge in mental health crisis, a widespread illegal hunting for food among the poor. This was not just a think tank. This was a division of the Privy Council. This is the council at the pleasure of the Prime Minister himself. And this is the reality of the situation. They're looking at a bleak future. These are the
people who have unlimited access to all the information about everything in the country. They know everything. Like, this is the group. And if this group says things are bad, then
things are pretty bad.
That group. Yeah.
Now there's a clip of Pierre Poilievre, and he's talking about this. It's like a 4-minute clip, but he just basically sums that up, that this is really bad, and this is really the product of the Trudeau liberal, Carney liberal, all of this. And this is where it's going to go. There's no way that if we're running deficits like they're planning to, which is worse, this is actually, Carney's plan is worse than Trudeau's plan. So if you thought Trudeau's plan was awful, it's going to get worse, because the platform is promising 130 billion in new measures over 4 years, adding 225
He calls
billion.
it investments. He doesn't even call it new measures. He calls it investments in his platform. Oh my God.
Which is just absolutely bonkers, because really it's not just 15 years out. It's not 15 years out. If you look at better dwelling here, Canada is likely to face deep recession despite lower tariffs. This is from an Oxford economist saying that this is the case. Tariff protections, again, policy designed to raise the cost of imports. The idea is to incentivize, keeping things in the United States instead of having the thing. What's not debated is the short-term impact of tariffs paid by the consumers. The funds are diverted from disposable income, slowing consumption and investment. In the near term, this will provide a negative shock, even with reduced tariffs. Canada is facing smaller tariffs, but more risk as global trade uncertainty spreads. Stillo's firm notes that tariffs have been smaller than initially assumed. Most USMCA compliant goods remain tariff exempt, with steel, aluminum, non-US contents of auto parts being notable exemptions. However, a broad 25% tariff remains on all other non-USMCA compliant goods. This is bad news, and it's not going to get any better with Carney. It's not going to get any better with any of the rhetoric once this election's over, unless all of the rhetoric changes and then real life scenario kicks in and they stop playing the America bad game and then actually start playing ball with our American neighbors.
Yeah, well, if we break it down, so one of the big problems in the country is we're indebted, government is bloated, we're spending too much money. Carney ain't solving that. Like, In fact, I'm a bit disappointed. I analyze both plans. Carney's plan is disastrous, right? Like even the 130 billion is low because he's hiding in his plan what, he's got what he calls investment. He separated operating expenses from capital expenditures. He did Enron kind of things. That's what they do, right? Like you make the
That's a good
financial
comparison.
statement, make the financial statement so complicated, use big words, and then so I think his plan in terms of long-term debt is worse for sure.
Well, it's going to get him rich. It's an investment for him. I mean, if he's doing modular housing and that's what Brookfield's into, that's a great investment.
Did you see friend of the channel that like Kirk's comment a couple of weeks ago? That was a fantastic comment, right? When Kirk said, like, here's the rest of the world, like doing AI and this and going to space and solving, health problems and prolonging life. And what's Canada doing? We're proposing to build shit boxes, 900 square feet by the millions and house you in that. Like we're going backwards.
Yeah. We're absolutely going backwards and stagnant. We've been stagnant for a long time. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. Like if what we're going to do is play protectionist market and not advance as an advanced economy, we're not an advanced economy. Like, why is it that we have to have, if the United States lives next to us and they're the biggest producer of X, why don't we just buy it? We shouldn't be doing that. Instead, what do? We put a trade barrier at the border, this artificial trade barrier, and then we say Canadians are not allowed to buy that. They're not allowed to buy X. They can only buy it from X producer in Canada. So we have these twin economies that don't make any sense, and we're just stifling our own development.
If they're doing artificial intelligence, we shouldn't do that. If they're doing big financing, we shouldn't do that. But we have copied everything that they're doing, and we've abandoned everything we're good at. And
there's things that we could excel at if we just open up our markets, like AI. Why are you doing that in Southern California when you could be doing it in the North, where you're not going to be running massively costly refrigeration circuits? Like,
then you'd have to lower taxes and attract people and give them a reason to want to come live here.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to another thing too, that became really apparent in the last week. Like when we're talking about that divide between, let's say, older Canadians and young Canadians, now I was always worried about the fact that we had too many civil servants, right? Like we had 2 civil servants for every 4 people in the private sector. I was worried about that. I was worried about immigration. But now I see what the result of that is. That did create a division that is real and not easily corrected. There is a division in this country between people who work for the government and people who work for the private sector, people who've been living here a long time and people who recently arrived. Like there's all these divisions that are and they cause problems, and nothing in the platform of actually either party is reversing those policies. And that's the other, those divisions. That's the other thing I wanted to say. I'm voting for Pierre, and I love Pierre, and I want the Conservatives because we got to reverse these damages. But I'm same as the last couple of weeks. I'm still disappointed in Pierre. His platform's not that good. I mean, he still has debt a lot. Like he's still running deficits. Like, what did we talk about? Cut the government and kickstart the economy, Pierre. Do it fast. Like, don't do it in 5 years from now. That's a cop-out.
Well, big time. Well, that's the thing. So I was showing you that clip. I didn't show the clip, but at the bottom of the clip, it shows Conservatives aim to cut. This is as they were announcing it. Aim to cut deficit by 70%. They're not cutting the debt by 70%. They're cutting the deficit by 70%. That means we're still going to be running a deficit of 30% of what it currently is. That's a lot.
The Trudeau deficits are so big, Clyde. Like this year's deficit, the 2024-2025 debt, like Ottawa runs a fiscal year that ends on April 30th. We don't know how the year ended. The year's about to end fiscally. The parliamentary budget officer in his fall update said that this fiscal year's deficit was going to be $50 billion. Remember, we all talked about this. I bet you it's going to be 70 or 80 because they canceled the carbon tax that was giving them revenue. They had to reverse the capital gains higher inclusion rate, did things like that. By the time this year ends, the Trudeau will have put us in debt another $70 billion. And so, yeah, so of course, yeah, Pierre says, I'm going to cut the deficit by 70. Well, okay, so you're going to leave 20 because the deficits are so huge. It's
humongous.
The numbers are meaningless at this point. It's
And
crazy.
the other ones that are a little bit like, it kind of gets on my nerves. So lower income tax by 15%. Most people think when they hear that if they're paying 30%, they'll be paying 15% afterwards. That's not how that works.
No.
They're gonna cut what you would have paid by 15%. So that's actually like a reduced. It's a tiny amount.
Plus, it's one tax bracket. He's cutting the middle income tax bracket. I mean, the only dollars that are reduced by 15% are the dollars in that tax bracket. Your dollars below that and your dollars above that bracket are still unchanged. So you're and nobody's entire income is in the middle tax bracket. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like disingenuous comments from any party, but at this point,
and then the build 2.3 million homes. That one kind of got me. Well, and the other part was to build $2.3 million homes, and we were laughing at Carney saying 500,000 homes. Where do you get this 2.3 million number? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Even the host during the French debate was laughing at them, at all of them. He's like, "Well, you said 500 going once, so I have 600 going once, 8." And then he literally it's almost what he did in the French debate. And Jagmeet's like, "I'll go 8." Okay, 8. And then the host said, "You guys are pulling numbers out of the air," which they are.
And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna revert back to how much I liked Pierre before all this PR stuff, because he would always decline to answer a question saying how many homes, because it's up to the free market. I don't decide how many homes. It's not up to me as a government official how many homes get built.
Right. How many babies are going to be born? How many babies are you going to get born next year? I don't know.
Right? You can't make up that number. It should be left to the market. But and I agree with what he would always say is, got to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Make sure that regulation is gone. Now he's promising $100,000 savings on any new home, which is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I love that idea. But how many young people in this country are buying brand new homes?
The saving is, and there's already a savings, by the way. There's already savings. The GST on new homes is 2/3 of 5%. It's not even the full amount, but you're right. Actually, those are the kinds of things my sons have been bringing up. They're breaking down the promises, like the one where Pierre said, you can add another $5,000 to your TFSA as long as it's invested in Canada. My sons both said, well, that's a nice promise, but who has $5,000 kicking around?
I'd put that towards the down payment on a home, right?
Yeah, they're absolutely right. But
he's definitely he's catching the audience of people that are frustrated, and I get that. And at the same time, we get flack because people are don't hammer on Pierre. Go after Carney. We're going after Carney. Carney's an easy target. He's awful.
Going after him hard. Yeah,
he's absolutely awful. Absolutely. But we're talking reality here. And who's going after Pierre the worst? Well, it's the Liberals. It's the Liberals, but it's the media. It's the media that's going after him the hardest. The Liberals are giving a free pass to Carney and all the stuff that he's pulling and all the stuff that's happened previous to Carney being in the Liberals. They're running the same party. Let's just be honest. It's not a different party. But this one I thought was hilarious. This is them criticizing even the ads that Pierre is running. I just caught this before we went live. I gotta show this. This is just insane.
The Conservatives are also running 2 new ads, neither of which feature Pierre Poilievre.
Do you really think that a 4th Liberal term is going to change anything?
I've been thinking the same thing.
Are we really going to give these clowns a 4th term? I'm voting Conservative.
The 2 men running to lead us both once worked for me, and my choice unequivocally is Pierre Poilievre.
Okay, Cheryl, let's start with you. What do you make of that? A couple old guys playing golf, older guys, not old guys. I'm getting in that age myself. And Prime Minister Stephen Harper former Prime Minister, making an appeal for Pierre Poilievre. What do you make of those ads?
I only look to old rich white men to tell me what I need in life. So I completely see why these ads are resonating with people.
So this just like it drove me nuts because it's like, hold on a second, it's the rich old white guys that are the ones that are apparently everyone's going after in the voter block, and then you criticize going after rich white guys. So the criticism is that Pierre's not in the ad. There's all kinds of ads politically that
Clyde,
the candidate's not in the ad. But they're honestly they're going after the boomer class. The that's what they're looking at.
So you're working and you're seeing a lot of this. I'm online like 8 hours a day these days, so I can tell you, it's so bad right now. Like yesterday, Poilievre released his plan, right? His plan. And some people were literally making fun of the fact they were comparing his plan to Carney's. And the criticism was, oh, Pierre's plan, he had 7 pictures of himself in it. I'm like, holy fuck. Sorry, folks. Like, wow. Like, okay, this is where we're like, this is now,
Wait,
like,
so he had too many pictures of himself, and then
he had too many pictures of himself
him in it at all. And
yeah,
then,
so it's like you got one
why?
minute where they're like, he's got too many pictures of himself, and then the next minute they're like, he's not in his own video. Like everybody online at this point, let's just get it over with. Let's just vote tomorrow, okay? Because nothing like the camps are entrenched now. They are so entrenched. I don't think they both ran a super safe election. There's been no bozo eruptions. There's been no controversy. If it's simply, let's just vote now and let's just see what happens. Now, we were saving this for the end. It's not the end. I'm fairly hopeful that the country hasn't completely lost its mind and remembers the bad 9 years. Mm-hmm. And I think we might not get a huge conservative majority, but I think the conservatives might at least win a minority. And the reason I'll say that is I spent the weekend going to our local early polling station where there was the 4 days of advanced polling. Now, granted, I live in Calgary and it's more conservative, but there was 2 things that were really fascinating for me. There's been a huge early voter turnout. 7.5 million people came out to vote the last 4 days, which is about 26% of the registered voters. There's 18 million voters registered, right? So it's a big number. It's the highest we've ever seen. Now, is that just a trend because it's a more common thing? Maybe. But I think people are coming out because they want change. When people are super happy, they don't vote, right? But when people want change, they get out and vote. And if people want change, that can only mean one thing, man. If I met a human being who told me I want change and I'm voting for Carney, I would instantly say, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, because that's not change. So that's my thought, is that the early voter big number turnout means people want change, which is bad news for incumbents always. The other thing that I noticed this weekend was the kids. It was so like when I went and stood inside and I waited and I watched people vote. And every time somebody was a first time voter, they can usually tell like you're 18 or 19, right? Every time there was a kid who was a new voter who put his thing in the box, people applauded. And it was like a quarter of the time. It was so that part, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that. So I was happy about that. Like new people voting for the first time, there was a lot of them.
Well,
so
that's good.
That's my prediction. Before the end of the show, I'm calling it a minority for the Conservatives.
Well, before we get into my predictions, before we get into that, I'm gonna have to give a big old shout out to Jasmine Lane.
Yes.
So she managed to land a interview with Pierre and Anaida Poilievre. That was great. Go check it out on her channel. It's 26 minutes of a great interview from an independent journalist here on YouTube, and big
Who
kudos
filmed
to her.
For her. Did she get Elevate to go and film for her or somebody like that? You know, or she did it all herself?
She did it all herself. That was all her. That was all her and all the editing. So Yeah, she was.
Yeah, we got to promote that. 160,000 views after 15 hours. That's not enough. We need to get that.
Yeah.
Shame on me for not doing a better job of putting that out there. Yeah.
I'm going to put the link in the chat for the people who are watching this live. I'll put the link in the description for everybody who's watching this as the podcast as it goes out. So go check it out. Yeah, Jasmine Lane doing a bang up job, and big shout out, big kudos to her for landing that interview. That's a big thing. That's a huge step. Now let's get into maybe my predictions where I'm going with this. Here's 338. So this is an aggregate of all the polls. I've been watching British Columbia switch between conservative and liberal over the past couple of days, but we still only have 2 provinces that are trending for the conservatives. We've got all of the Ontario, Quebec, Maritimes, even Manitoba, the territories, all of it going liberal. And I think it's for a very, particular phenomena. This is the way it's. Canadians are just really, prone to voting. Prone. I mean, like
70% of the last 157 years we voted liberal. That's just I'm going the wrong way here. I gotta go this.
Yeah, so leaning into this election before Trudeau stepped down, everybody was like, these same polls were way the other way for the Conservatives. It was ridiculous. It was super majority territory. If there was an election at that time, we would be, walking out of it with a super majority Conservative Party in government.
Yep.
Now things changed, and a huge thing that changed was the fact that they got rid of Trudeau. And when they got rid of Trudeau, a lot of MPs across the country were saying they were talking with their constituents, and the constituents kept saying, we like you as our MP, but you know what? If Trudeau is the leader, we're not voting for Trudeau. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people that vote with their riding. They care about their riding. And there's a lot of people that vote where they care about, the federal turnout. And this is the problem with a parliamentary system. We're not voting in our president. We have a prime minister that's voted, that's elected by their party, and it's the party that wins the plurality of seats. That's the way it works. It's unfortunate, but this is so people have to divide their ideas on this. They're like, well, perhaps you want the leading party to be conservative, but you don't want a conservative guy. You don't like the guy in your riding.
I've been trying to get people past all of that, and I keep asking people a very simple question, like, tell me how your life is better in 2025 than it was in 2014. And people like, nobody can tell me how they're better. And everybody can tell me why it's worse. Like people know that inflation is high, housing is unaffordable. There's a narcotic epidemic. The border is a wide open sieve. The jobs are leaving the country. You name it, by every measure that matters, we're worse off. And people are willing to forget all about that and re-vote for liberals simply because they're scared of a guy on the other side of the border who's doing what's best for his country. That's crazy.
Well, that's what the liberals are doing. So that's another dynamic in this whole thing, is that people are scared about that. And that's fear drummed up by the liberals. And it's fear. And I really want to express this I really want to drill this one home. I want to drive this one home. The only reason why we're having such an issue with Donald Trump right now is because of Mark Carney. Mark Carney has every ability to go down there and negotiate like every other country except Canada and China did. We would be right now, if he went down there and he would have discussed it with him, we would be in that 90-day reprieve from any tariffs right now. So think about this. During an election cycle, while Carney and the liberals are trying to tell you that they're the pick here, they're actually actively the reason for anyone who got laid off this past month. Yes. They're the reason for it. And despite that, because we're so propagandized and because people are so primed to think that the liberals are the good guys and the conservatives are blah or bad guys, or, you know, mean daddy won't let me have a horse, a pony, or whatever it is. This is where we're at. So if you got laid off in the past month because of the tariffs, you can thank Prime Minister Carney for this. He did it for the election cycle. And when the election cycle's over, so will that villain. That villainy will be over, and you'll be sitting there holding the bag of this whole thing. Now, that being said, I don't know if, because I see Alberta, and you're giving me anecdotes of what it's like in Alberta to go vote, and I believe you, because I look at the polls, and the polls indicate that Alberta is ready to vote conservative, and so is Saskatchewan. British Columbia is on the fence, but nowhere else is. Nowhere else is on the fence about it. And believe me, by the time the vote gets to before the polls close in Manitoba, we're gonna know the results.
Oh, we'll know. Yeah. We'll know. I mean, we'll know for sure. We'll know if it's a majority or a minority. We'll know something. Yeah, it's always been the case. I can't remember. I don't remember an election where the polls closed in Alberta where we went, ooh, we have an impact. Like not in my 25 years of voting do I remember one of those.
So either Marty, you and I are going to break even, and we'll each eat ourselves a bottle of whiskey, or I'll end up owing you 2 bottles of whiskey. But my prediction on this one, and I'm not going to be very popular for having said this, my heart wants the Conservatives to win, and you know, my hopes are out there that they'll squeak by with a minority, because I don't think they'll get a majority. But I'm actually fearful that my gut's telling me that the Liberals will come out with a minority government, and they'll be the third term as a minority.
And Jagmeet Singh will prop them up.
Well, Jagmeet Singh is losing his seat.
He's losing his seat. Thank God. We never even talked about Jagmeet. Actually, weirdly, this week or today, Rachel Notley came out of retirement and campaigned for Jagmeet, but I don't think she was campaigning for Jagmeet. I think more or less she's campaigning for Jagmeet's job. So
that's exactly what she wants.
Yeah,
and she's hoping that, I don't know, perhaps Alberta will leave, and nobody who's still in Canada knows who she is.
Jagmeet through the election. I don't know what Carney promised him. Like, what would he promise him? What's a plush appointment for Jagmeet? He doesn't want to be ambassador to India. He's not allowed there. Where's he going?
I heard there's an opening and the board of trustees at the World Economic Forum.
That's a job for Carney. Carney should have applied for that. Like, God, we're okay. All right. Bet accepted. Minority conservative for me, minority liberal for you. I think it's fair to say nobody's getting a majority. That would be really surprising if it's a majority. Yeah, and if it's a minority, then hopefully there's a consolation prize for me. And for me, the biggest consolation prize would be for Carney to lose his seat in the Nepean. That would be a huge consolation. But
imagine that if the Liberals win, but he loses his seat.
Yeah. We're out of time.
Happen?
We're going to go to the real. I'm looking at the list. We covered everything pretty good. There's something in here I can't even read. I don't know what my writing says. We didn't talk about the Pope. That's the only thing we didn't talk about is the Pope.
Do you care about the Pope? Were you a big fan of the Pope?
No, I've never. I'm not a religious guy. So but it's it's another curious thing. I guess we'll see if Paulie Score whatever does odds on the Pope.
what on what happens when he gets to the pearly gates?
No, the next thing now
is pretty on board with some hedonistic things.
No, people are the betting is will the Catholic Church finally choose a black pope or something like that? You know what I mean?
Why don't they choose a Catholic one? I hope they would choose one of those.
Hey, we don't want to offend your viewers. You probably got some viewers that are very that love the Pope. My wife loved the 2 popes ago. My wife always talked about John Paul II. I couldn't even name the last pope, and then this one I think this one was called Francis. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Francis, and he
Yeah.
was awful. He talked about having walls being an abomination, of course because of Trump, but didn't mention that the Vatican City is surrounded by walls because they were worried about invaders coming in. I don't know. That's just the thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Marty.
All right, one more week and then we'll see. So next time we'll talk officially next week on Monday, but then when we do this show next week on Wednesday, that's when
we'll have a new government.
Yeah, we could have a new government. We will have a new government. You're right. We'll have a new government when we do this show next Wednesday. Crazy.
Marty.
Yep.
Where can people find you?
Marty Up North on Twitter. Come see me there. I try to respond to everybody's comments. And if you're so inclined, go find me on Marty Up North on YouTube as well.